Hello everyone, welcome to Technology Begins. In this video, we will learn about class in Python. So what is class? Class is the collection of variables and methods which used to create the object with the same properties. Okay, or we can say class is nothing but blueprint or a template for creating the objects. We will see the and we will see or we will understand the definition of class with example, but let's see how we can declare the class or what is the syntax of class for creating the class. Okay, so whenever you want to create the class, then you need to define like this: class, and after that class name, and then after you need to put colon, and whatever the code variables or method we need to write inside of this class, which will going below of this class definition. Okay, so we need to maintain the indentation, as we know whenever we are writing the code inside of any block of code like class, function, loop. So we need to maintain indentation according to it. Okay, so this is how you can write the class. This is the one syntax and this is the other syntax, which is having the parameter object. Okay, so what is the difference between these two? So other than this object parameter, these both syntax are same. So this syntax is basically used to differentiate new style class and old style class whenever we are using Python 2. But whenever we are using Python 3, we don't need to maintain this difference. You can use any one syntax and that is absolutely fine. Okay, so whenever we are using Python 2, that time if we want to get the new style class, that time we are defining the syntax like this and giving the parameter for this defined class. And if you want to use this old style class in Python 2, and that time we don't need to give the object class. Okay, but in Python 3 that is absolutely fine whatever syntax you will use. Let's see what is the difference in Python 2, so you can understand that why they are using this such new style class and old style class. So as you can see, in old style class there is a attributes which are very less compared to the new style class. So whenever you want to make the use of these special attributes inside of this while you are using Python 2, so that time uh, you can use this new style class syntax. Okay, and you can also use the super method using this new style class inside of Python 2 also. Okay, so that you will check, but Python 2 will no longer available, so we can't use that Python 2, and here Python 3 that is absolutely fine if you are using any syntax from this. Okay, and this dir is used to get the every function, variables and method which are used in this class. Okay, this class variable is defined, and whatever functions and whatever methods and variables which are available inside of this class, they are showing using this dir method. So you can use this dir method for every package or class or variables. Okay, so you will get the idea how many functions are there inside of that particular class and how many default attributes are available inside of that particular class. Okay, so this is how you can use the dir method. And let's understand the our class definition with example. So as our class definition is saying that it is the collection of variables and methods in which used to create the object with same properties. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? And class is also nothing but blueprint or template for creating an object. So that means that when if for example if we have one organization, an organization have a 50 employees, and we want to add the records of 50 employees, then we will not uh, create and create the employees property multiple times. And what is the properties of the employee? Properties are nothing but every employee have this, for example, these three properties, and which are always be the same, like name, age and salary. Every employee have this property, but the values are different, but every employee have these three properties: name, age and salary. Okay, so we are not creating this property 50 times. So we will create one blueprint or a template, so we can use that template whenever we are creating the record for that particular employee. Okay, so that is basically a meaning of that, the template and blueprint. So we don't want to create that properties 50 times. So we are simply creating the template or blueprint for creating the object, and we will use repeatedly and multiple times for creating the employee record. So this is basically a meaning of that. Let's see the example of that. If we have a class called employee, right, this is basically a syntax of this. You can use any syntax with object parameter or without object parameter in Python 3. That is absolutely fine. And after that, we need to define constructor. And how we can define the constructor for the class? So we can define the constructor using double underscore init double underscore method. Inside of that, first parameter is self. Okay, and what is the meaning of this self keyword? Self keyword is basically representing the current instance or current object value. Okay, so meaning, we will see the meaning of that. Basically, whenever we want to create an object of this employee, and whatever variable we have defined inside of this constructor, and we want to use uh, that variables throughout the class in different method, then we can use the use of this self keyword. We can make the use of this self keyword. And constructor will called every time whenever you are creating the object, and we don't need to call this constructor manually. It will called automatically whenever you are creating the object. And constructor will allocate a memory for your class of variables and methods. Okay, whenever it needed. So whenever you are creating the object of the class, then this constructor will called, and it will allocate the memory for your variable which are defined inside of this init method. So let's take, if we want to use, we are assigning some variables or properties of employees inside of the self keyword. So self dot name, which is name, and we will get this name from creating the object: name, age and salary. And we will assign these three variables into the self keyword, so we can make the use of these three variable in different instance method of the class. Okay, so we will see what is the instance method. That is basically defining the method inside of the class. Salary is equal to salary. Okay, and if you want to create another method which is like this, and which is basically giving us only the age. Sorry. Okay, like this. So this is how you can create the class, and every class must have a constructor for allocating some memory, and whenever you are creating the object of the class, this constructor will called automatically. And we have assigned our parameter of name, age and salary to the self keyword. So let's see how this self keyword is working. So whenever we need to make the use of this age inside of this get age function, so we have used this self dot age, right? So this is how we can use this uh, variables value throughout the class in different method whenever we need it. Okay, so let's create the object of the class. So how we can create the object of the class? For creating the object of the class, we simply need to write class name and parenthesis. So this is basically will create the object of the class, but our class needed these three parameters. Okay, so whatever parameter you will define inside of this constructor, which must be need to pass while creating the object, and parameter and arguments are same as the Python arguments. Okay, so you can pass any of the type of argument, keyword argument, or we can say variable length argument. It depends up to your requirements. Okay, so I am passing John 21 and salary is 10,000. Okay, and if we print this variable, we have assigned this object to the em variable, and if we see the sorry, output of this, then you can see the employee object. Okay, so we have created this employee class object, and if you want to access the variable of this class like name, then you can simply write em dot name. Okay, let's run this program. As you can see, John. So this is how you can access the properties of the class. And we want to create, if we want to create, if you want to call the method of the class, then okay, so whenever you are creating the method inside of the class, you must need to write the self keyword, so you can make get get the use of whatever variable you have defined inside of the constructor. As you can see, this get age method will return us the age. So this is how self keyword is working. And if I am creating another object, employee 22 and which salary is 12,000. Okay, and so I am saying you the how self keyword is working. So it is defining the current object of the class. So whenever we are using like this, so this em dot get age, this first object, so that is returning the get age 21, and second one em1 dot get age, which is returning 22. So this self keyword is basically representing current instance of the class, and whatever variables or properties values we have passed in the object while creating the object, and which we are using inside of the method. Okay, and it will return according to the object. It might be confusing, but it is basically that whenever you are creating the particular object, it is used to represent the values of that particular object. Okay, whatever we are passing this John 21 and 10,000 inside of this class, then whenever we want to make these values, make this use of this value inside of this class method, then we can use the self keyword. Okay, basically we have assigned this age into the self keyword while creating the object of the class, so we can make the use of that in other instance method also. This is basically instance method of the class. So this is how you can create the object of the class and make the use of self keyword according to the object. So this is how we have created the two record for this particular employees, and we have make the use of this template for creating the object. Okay, we we didn't created this template multiple times. We simply use this template or blueprint to create the object for creating the employee record. And I hope you have understood the concept of self keyword also. Basically that is representing only the instance of the class. Okay, whatever value we have passed while creating the object, it will uh, return you, or you can make the use of that in instance method or any different method like class method and static methods. Okay, so this is how you can create the class and make the use of them. So I hope you have understood the concept of class. Thank you. See you in the next video.